O'Reilly is a very important source for a startup nation like us. And not always people are aware of the power of this database. So we have decided to expose to do a WebEx so everybody knows what we're talking about, and then we will continue from there. I hope you will enjoy the WebEx, and that's it. Thank you, and Peg, you can start because.
I would like to introduce Peg. Avi, I would like to introduce Peg as, please, yes, if I may. Okay. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. And I'm very happy that Peg has agreed to join us at this early hour. She's based in the US. And Peg Knight is Senior Product Manager for Partners and Distributors in the Books Business Unit at ProQuest. Throughout her career in publishing, product management, educational technology, and the information industry, she has conceptualized and created award-winning resources in both print and digital formats, as wide-ranging as Native American tribes, modern dance, Shakespeare, and marketing, and led teams to develop online learning solutions. Please put yourself on mute. Thank you. Avi.
Okay.
Avi?
Yes?
Please put yourself on mute. Thank you. At ProQuest, Peg has the pleasure of managing a suite of partnerships, especially the ProQuest partnership with O'Reilly. Ms. Knight is particularly interested in innovation and creativity and understanding how and why people seek information. It's my pleasure to turn over to Peg, who will present to us O'Reilly. Thank you so much, Peg.
Thank you so much, Nina. I appreciate it. And thanks again to everyone for the invitation to come and speak with you about O'Reilly. It's one of my favorite topics. So once I get started, it's hard to slow me down, but please interrupt, ask questions. I think we have some time for questions and answers at the end as well. So without further ado, I'm going to take you into some overview information, and then we'll look right at O'Reilly. We'll get right into the product. All right. So thanks again. Here we go. Let's get underway here. Actually, the Zoom is saying that the host disabled participant screen sharing. Is there a way for me to share my screen?
Yes, Shosh, can you give host rights or presentation rights, please, to Peg?
Thank you. Our first little technical glitch. It's perfect.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, let's see if I can share. Not yet.
Shosh, are you there? Shoshi.
Yeah, I'm here, but Avi should do it. Avi is the manager, not me.
Avi, can you make her a host, please? Just right-click on her name.
We did it already.
Okay.
Okay, can you try now?
Now I'm good. Now I've got it.
Thank you.
Now we're good. Thank you. Okay, and let me just go into slideshow view. How does that look to everybody? Can you see?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Perfect. So right off the bat with O'Reilly, it's different than
Can you
any
just put
other
it on
company.
presentation mode, please?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. I thought I had it on there. One moment. Oh, I know what's happening. It's sharing the wrong screen. Bear with me. Okay, hold on. I'm going to share a different screen. Let's just get you back. One minute, please. Screen share. Let's see if I just go. Any better?
No, no, it was better before.
Okay.
I see your desktop.
just have to go in here and share a different screen. Okay. My apologies. We're used to using Teams at ProQuest, and so at any time we go into a different package, it's a little bit of a discovery process. So bear with me here.
Why don't you just do share screen? That would be the best, probably.
Yeah, that is what I'm doing. It's just I have 3 screens, so
Okay.
I picked a different screen for sure. Okay.
Okay.
So what if I share? I'm going to share this screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and
Okay.
start my slideshow. Hold on. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you asked. Thank you for getting that going. Appreciate that. 'Cause
Thank
it would have
you.
been kind of difficult to see. All right. So right off the bat, I've worked as you were hearing in Nina's introduction in information technology and digital publishing for 20, 30 years now. And had the pleasure of working at Silicon Valley startups that were purchased by large organizations. So they still had that Silicon Valley startup ethos, but with a large kind of company behind them. I've had a lot of different experiences, but I've actually really, on a personal level, very much enjoyed working with O'Reilly because although they've been in business for 40 years, they behave and think and act very much like a startup. Starting right at this opening slide, where their message is that they are spreading the knowledge of innovators, which I think, you know, thinking about what I was reading in the book that you recommended, Nina, you know, the Startup Nation, thinking about what you shared with me as well, seems so completely relevant to what's going on, the dynamic industry that we're seeing in Israel. So I hope this is super relevant and helpful for everyone. We already went through my introduction. It's been a lot of fun. As an intellectually curious person, it's been very fun having a career, learning about different subject areas and thinking about information and again, how and why people seek it and when they're trying to advance research and what they're trying to accomplish. So what I want to do today is talk to you a little bit about O'Reilly and its history as a learning company. I want to help you discover how it supports employability, transferable skills. Right now, obviously, post-pandemic or close to post-pandemic, we hope. There's a lot of focus on retraining, upskilling, reskilling, pivoting into new roles. So it supports that kind of an effort. I'll want to take you into showing you how O'Reilly connects users to this learning ecosystem, and then we'll take a tour of O'Reilly. That's what we have planned for today. So O'Reilly's history started, you can see the bubble on the far left side of the screen, with these very recognizable woodcut books. They have little woodcut animals on the covers and, you know, they're very recognizable, very good, strong branding from many years ago, 40 years ago is when this all started. So they were publishing in technology and along the way started to create these global technology conferences. They don't do these live right now. Who knows what the future will bring. But what that created for them was the opportunity to build a huge network of technologists. So literally through doing these presentations, these global technology conferences, they built a network that serves them well today, still. They launched the Safari system along the way. I want to say it was like 2001, and you know, brought in other technology publishers as well, realizing that they wanted to bring in multiple voices to speak to technology and kind of expand their view, their perspective. And where we are now is on the right-hand side, O'Reilly for Higher Education, this vast learning ecosystem that builds on everything from the previous history and creates for users a place where they can explore videos, explore books, explore learning paths, take deep dives, or just get some quick background in a wide array of topics. Okay, so I wanted to just a couple of quotes that struck me when I was looking at Startup Nation. Just wanted to share these because to me they tied into O'Reilly and its story. But right in the foreword, there was this quote. saying to become an expert on the future, vision must replace experience. So yeah, how do you become an expert on the future? Really interesting question to ask. And I brought this one up because it totally reminded me of Tim O'Reilly, the founder of O'Reilly, who has really been called a visionary. I mean, 40 years ago, he founded this company. He's been called the Oracle of Silicon Valley in Inc. magazine. He's been called a trend spotter. There's literally a story called The Trend Spotter in Wired magazine about him. And my favorite, on the cover of Publishers Weekly, a weekly publishing magazine in the US, there was a cover story on O'Reilly with a bunch of books stacked up in an old PC, obviously from 2000, sitting on top of it. And it said, the internet was built on O'Reilly books. So I'm bringing this up because this has kind of been part of the ethos and the value system at O'Reilly from the very beginning, being the one who's on the cutting edge of what's happening in technology. That's kind of what they're all about. I also found it kind of interesting in Startup Nation, the idea of trying to explain what's going on in Israel. Why Israel? How do you explain this amazing burst of technology and innovation? And this kind of stuck with me, that one explanation is that adversity, like necessity, breeds inventiveness. I just sort of like the idea of, by necessity, this naturally bubbled up and happened, and hard work and spirit and kind of the ethos of the culture and the geography and the people. So I want to talk a minute about O'Reilly Radar. Tim O'Reilly, again, Silicon Valley sage, Oracle of Silicon Valley. He really wanted to build a company that saw what was coming and anticipated what was next and cut through the noise to get to the signal. So what this is trying to show you is that here's where most learning solutions begin. After early adopters and the early majority have taken hold with this technology, this is when most solutions pick up. What O'Reilly specializes is in what's going on way at the beginning of the curve. So they're spotting these emerging technologies well in advance of even the innovators, right? They're there alongside the innovators, trying to focus on them. And they have examples. One example of this was microservices. There was, kind of a sense that microservices might be a passing fad, that it may not be something worth focusing on. And O'Reilly thought it was valuable and worth continuing to focus on. And so their research and editorial team and their expert networks continue to focus on microservices. And today, companies have shifted their entire infrastructure to accommodate microservices and to give them the ability to release new products. So that's just an example of a trend that they knew was worth tracking and owning. And so that's kind of what they like to apply, is the O'Reilly radar, to make sure they're really following what's going on and they're anticipating what's next and what's important to pay attention to. So this one talks about tomorrow's leaders using O'Reilly. I think it's worth mentioning that more than 60% of the Fortune 100 company subscribe to O'Reilly, their corporate version. And there's a reason. That's what they need their employees to use to survive and to thrive in the office. You can see these organizations come from lots of different places. It's healthcare, it's finance, retail, it's manufacturing, energy, and so on. So those institutions of higher education, universities and colleges who subscribe to O'Reilly are enjoying the benefit of the same resources used by tech giants and startups alike. Okay, so it's an interesting database because it is very cutting edge and very technical and very much focused on higher ed kind of advancement, but it's also very practical. If a student needs to come in and get certified in Amazon Web Services, they can come to O'Reilly to prepare for their certification test. So it's this combination of high intellectual and very pragmatic, right? If you're coming in trying to solve a problem, like how do I learn a foundational bit of information about Python? This is a place to come. if you're coming in to get expertise in Python skills and get to on the higher end of that learning curve, it's also a place to come. So it serves a number of needs, as you'll see when we get into the database. All right, so this is just a sample of some of the experts kind of engaged with O'Reilly. You can see from their quick bios that they run the gamut. You've got people at Google, a best-selling author, a Forbes contributor here on blockchain, a former CTO of Rent the Runway, really people from all walks of life who have expertise in these different areas of technology coming together. These people were either inventors or early adopters of technologies. And so that's who you have contributing to O'Reilly. Similarly, O'Reilly believes in multiple voices. As I was saying, it's not just their content in the database, it's the content from more than 200 content providers that they partner with. So very recognizable publishers such as Pearson, Wiley, Cisco, A-Press, and Taylor and Francis, just to name a few. So they recognized early on that they needed partners to round out their offerings. McGraw-Hill is another example. That's not here on the slide, but is relevant. And these topics range widely. So we have very technical topics like different programming languages, agile systems, agile processes, but also business and leadership skills like delegation, building a team, becoming a new manager, very hands-on practical resources around those topics as well. And then I think importantly, they really believe at O'Reilly that it's important to acknowledge that everybody learns differently. Not everyone learns the same way, and they want to provide a wide range of resources and types of resources to suit different learning styles. So we have playlists, which are expert playlists. You can create your own playlist if you're in a university or college setting and you have O'Reilly for Higher Ed. You can take advantage of the expert playlists that already exist within O'Reilly. You can walk down a very structured step-by-step learning path on a number of topics. I'll show you those. You can take a deep dive into these resource centers that expose you to essential information on these topics at beginning, intermediate, or advanced levels. Obviously, you can look at the roughly 45,000 ebooks in O'Reilly. You can watch videos, including case studies with business leaders from recognizable multinational companies that you'll see, and more.
Voila.
Okay. Was there a question? Thought I heard something. Yeah, okay. So here's just a sampling of logos. These are companies that trust O'Reilly. This is why they can claim that tomorrow's leaders use O'Reilly. These are enterprises that are corporate subscribers of O'Reilly. Many of the companies that many of our young people would love to work for someday. And of course, there are these awards. We actually have the 2020 Top 20 Company Training Industry Award for online learning and IT training as well. So it's acknowledged outside of the organization as well as inside. And then this, I think, is an interesting set of stats. 5 years is the useful life of any skill that we've already learned and are using today. Has about a 5-year shelf life. We will also 9 times need to reskill throughout our careers to stay ahead of change. So that's kind of what O'Reilly is all about, is helping people reskill, pivot, continue to grow in their disciplines. And that's kind of just an overview. Now I want to take you to a demo of O'Reilly, and we'll switch gears here. I don't know if people can still see my screen. Let me just, it says I'm sharing. Can you see the O'Reilly webpage?
Yes.
Okay, so right at first glance, you can see it's a very clean and modern, uncluttered layout. Objectively, I know, I do love O'Reilly, but I will say it is very intuitive and easy to browse. Simple to understand, easy to check out. I'm going to take you through sort of an anatomy lesson of the site, but also take you into some of the more interesting and hopefully relevant aspects of it for you. So what we have here at the top, you see at the very beginning, well, first of all, an open search text box, very familiar, quite obvious what you do. You plug in a search term and off you go. This section here is meant to highlight, again, with O'Reilly always being about the radar, to highlight something important in the moment. So here we are talking about microservices. There's a opportunity to explore that topic. Those change every 2-3 weeks, these topics, in the banner at the top of the page. So that's another way that they keep their radar sharp and they keep their users aware of what's important. Then we have this section called Explore O'Reilly Answers, which is natural language questions you can ask the system in order to get technical answers. This is for technical questions particularly. There are some examples here, but so you can use those set examples. How does blockchain work? Or you can click here and ask any question. If I just have a basic tech question, what is Python? The system will respond not only with results, but highlighted results from O'Reilly technical books specifically addressing my question. So here's a definition of Python. If that's not quite deep enough for me, I can keep going and look at other books that might speak to the question of what is Python. So again, this is just meant to be a natural language question system within O'Reilly. I believe their intention is to broaden that out to videos, cover videos as well. So right now this is focused on technology, and ultimately it will encompass both videos and books, but that's just a really quick lookup tool for a quick question on technology. What we have right below that section is a series of carousels, and it's pretty clear, you know, how those work. You arrow through right and left to check out the different carousels. This first one is expert playlists. So again, because they've built this vast network of cutting edge technologists and innovators, they invite them to create playlists on different topics. So what would they recommend a person look at if they're interested in machine learning? So here, let's pop this one open. And these are specific resources created by Mark Fenner on machine learning for everyone using Python. So that's what those are. The expert playlists are meant to kind of give you kind of the expert's view on what's essential reading or viewing, because some of these will be videos, right? Right below that is recommended for you. This responds to the user's search. So based on my searching, it's fed me back these interesting things it thinks I should check out. So these are based on my search history. Everyone's will be different, right? Then we have learning paths, which sound extremely simple, but are not. I always like to unpack these for people because they sound very light, but they're deep. So you can see they're very technical topics. We've got Amazon Web Services, Kubernetes, Zero to RHC, SA, software architecture, and so on. I will just go back. We'll go to this Amazon Web Services, basics to advanced. So it's taking us from basics to advanced. If I pop this one open, as you can see, this is 23 hours worth of material, okay? So these learning paths are robust, they're deep, and they're taking you through step by step. Now, obviously not everyone's gonna want 23 hours worth of material on Amazon Web Services. So what can one do? What you can do, any of these little icons you see on the right here, these mean that you can add this, this learning object to your playlist. So essentially, if I decide what I really want to know is what is cloud computing, I click on this, add it to my playlist, and I created a playlist called Israel Webinar July 11th, which is really 12th. And I'm going to pop that open for you later, but I've added that to my playlist. It's as simple as just clicking this and then saying, yes, put it in my playlist. So a user, if they wanted to pick through, if let's say they did want to go through all 23 hours of this material, but didn't have the time to sit and do this, you know, back to back, they could put the whole thing in their playlist and just chip away at that little by little. So I did want to call attention to the learning paths carousel because that is such a deep dive into some of these topics. I will also add that while there are very technical topics in these learning paths, there are some topics that are a little more universally relatable. So there's a learning path on being a product manager, a little more broad, right? Let me just kind of look at the topics. I'll show you exactly how to filter down through our learning paths to check out the topics. I will pull open the one, oh, there's 4 on product management. So not all of the learning paths are super technical. Obviously, product management involves some technology, but these are just fundamentals of product management for this one. This is a 4-hour resource. Just to kind of give you a taste of the learning paths, what those are. All right. Right below that, we have case studies. And I was reading about all of the multinational companies that have homes in Israel, that have offices in Israel and have people on the ground in Israel working. Google is an example. IBM is an example. Amazon is an example. So what these are live recorded events this is unique content to O'Reilly, so no one else has this in their resource. And it's about, these are from their live training events. So if I go to observability at Google and just click on this, you'll see what it looks. It's a 28-minute video with this person who's a software engineer at Google talking about observability at Google. Again, unique to O'Reilly. You're not going to find that anywhere else in any other resource. Another one, we'll just take another one really quickly. I like this one on Spotify. So this is 38 minutes long. Topic is machine learning. How Spotify uses machine learning to personalize the user experience with their director of research. So really cutting edge kind of companies and leaders in the space talking about their personal experience, what worked, what didn't work, case studies, positive, negative, and everything in between. All right, and so those are all kind of browsable, drillable. You can kind of look at the full list if you want, like I did before, and then drill down on a topic. You can see them all there. Okay, taking us back to the home screen, just below the case studies. And I'm not going to unpack every carousel for you because some are kind of self-evident. Recently added is a really good example. We can understand what that means, but I will point out that there is some travel material, travel and hobbies material in O'Reilly as well. And popular videos, that makes sense to you, I'm sure. Trending, what is trending? They sort of, again, back to that O'Reilly radar, focus on things that are trending across the researchers who use O'Reilly. Okay. I do want to take you to the resource centers, but I'm going to take you there through a different avenue. It's not on the main home screen when you come in. So you get a sense of how these carousels work and how you can see a lot of O'Reilly just from the homepage without even doing a search. We haven't fired off a traditional search yet, but I will do that now just to show you what that looks like. Let's do search on artificial intelligence. I just started typing the word ARTA, A-R-T-I. And as you can see, topics are displayed for me. So we can immediately see that artificial intelligence is, of course, a subject area in O'Reilly official subject heading. We can see titles with artificial intelligence right in the title. And then we can see authors that match the search criteria, but it's because I typed ARTI in that case. If I just click on artificial intelligence as a topic, of course I get robust results. And just to give you a sense of how you can drill through, you can limit to books. This is a filter, of course. I can also filter on videos. And I'm going to go back. I can filter on learning paths and on playlists, which you saw earlier. If I just click on books, just to show you how you can filter further, I can filter below that on topics. So if I want books on risk management, I can do that. Let's try game development. Books on game development by A-Press as a publisher. And then I can filter further on publication dates. So all the results are very drillable and filterable via a regular open text search, as you saw. So I was just using the open text box at the top. There are some really wonderful resources available through this black left-hand navigation bar that aren't in the main real estate area. So I want to show you that, make sure we don't miss those. Under Explore, what I like to do is play with this section, all topics, because it gives you a sense of O'Reilly's subject hierarchy and it allows you to really explore the topics in a deep way. So these are the mega topics, the highest level of the hierarchy, business and so on. If I click on business and then I click on strategy, I'm literally going down their subject hierarchy, and you can see within strategy, there are several other topics: culture and business, digital transformation. Let's try that. And then we have titles on digital transformation. We'll just click on this one, why digital transformations fail. And here again is that icon where I can just add it to my playlist. And I'm going to put it in this playlist that I created for today. So you can see how it's very easy to kind of browse through O'Reilly's subject headings. You can also peel back one level if you'd like. So I'm now back in strategy, and this time I want to look at consulting. There are some books on consulting for me. And you can back your way out of the breadcrumb trail through this section here. So I love pointing people in the direction of the O'Reilly all topics search because it's such a great way to get to know the broad, wide-ranging content. Let's see, another one might be, if I click on career development, you'll see there's a lot on personal development, professional communication, some very wide-ranging materials on here, personal productivity. So you're going to find time management. You're going to find some For Dummies books on basic things, for dummies for Excel. So it really runs the gamut. We talked a little bit about the business topics so far, but I just wanted to show a couple things here. Okay, so if I keep going down this Explore section in the left-hand navigation area, I can get to resource centers, which is another thing I wanted to show you because they don't, intuitively, what does that mean? Resource centers, right? I want to show you what those are. So these are curated topics by the O'Reilly editors. They've pulled together essential content on these critical topics. You'll see that there are 26 topics. Each one takes a deep dive into each of these. Let's look at business analytics. They have introductory for each resource center. They have introductory, intermediate, and advanced materials. So for the introductory level, here's something on the self-service data roadmap, reporting predictive analytics. If we dig a little deeper, we're going into the intermediate zone. Here's data science for business, artificial intelligence-driven analytics, and then last but not least, expert level, business analytics with R statistics. So that's quite specific and advanced, a little more nuanced. So you can see how practical Tableau, you can see how these become a little more sophisticated as we go. And I'll show you one more that will make it very clear to anyone, whether they're technical or not. Many technologists are thrown into positions of responsibility and become managers, much to their surprise. So you'll have technologists who are really good at technology and someone recognizes they've got great people skills as well, leadership skills, and they get thrown into a new position where they're managing people for the first time and they've no preparation. So O'Reilly very cleverly created a resource center on being a new manager. So everybody can relate to this. The new manager mindset, how to get started as a new manager. Intermediate level, we're talking about a little deeper into managing people. Let's learn from experts about being a new manager. What if you really liked your real job, your original job? And then at the advanced level, we've got a little more nuanced as well here, how to cultivate 21st century leadership skills. Here, how to earn credibility. You see how these become a little more nuanced as we go along. How to delegate, how to lead a lean organization. So anyway, I wanted to unpack the resource centers for you a little bit because that's information you might not see otherwise. It's right down here in the black left-hand nav area. Last but not least, in this left-hand nav, I'm going to show you the administration, which is a strange place to take you to talk about a database. But this is exciting to me because I think it's really smart the way they've built this. This is what they call their insights dashboard. So for ProQuest Information and Learning, I'm getting my statistics just for my organization. It's showing me what is going on at my institution. It's an increase in engaged users over the past 30 days, increase in minutes watched of video, increase in content accessed, and I can change this to 3 months if I want. I can change it to 6 months and you can see the data refreshes automatically for me. I can export this to Excel. You can see how I can download it to CSV format. And all of this is drillable. So it's not just telling me that my users are interested in hardware, because I can drill down and find out what are they interested in within hardware or career development. Oh, they're interested in tests and education. What within software development are they looking at? Oh, computer science. Oh, they're interested in coding practices, that kind of thing. So you can drill down through these topics very deeply and also download them into CSV format. Shows me where my users are deepening and broadening. Whoops, I accidentally left. And where they're broadening this way. And look at how when I hover over any of these topics, it takes me a little deeper. It's showing me that not only are they interested in data, it shows me that 21 were interested in machine learning and artificial intelligence, 14 were interested in data engineering, and so on. It's incredibly flexible and informative. And if you're doing any kind of a newsletter to report up to your organization what your patrons are doing with this O'Reilly thing you've just subscribed to, you can also, create a little screen capture of this data and show, oh, look at the interest in machine learning and artificial intelligence, data science, testing and education. Hovering over any of this will give you deeper insight into what's going on at your organization. It's incredibly informative, and it even shows you what days of the month are the heaviest use. So that's kind of an impressive area too within this black navigation bar under administration. It's called the Insights Dashboard. Finally, there's this little person icon up in the upper right-hand corner. This is my personal area. It'll show my profile details, my history, my playlist. So as we saw, I created this little playlist for this webinar. Here's the playlist and what it looks like. These are the things I put into it today. I was looking a little bit through the database trying to think about what might be particularly interesting, and there were some interesting connections to what I was reading about Israel and leading the epic revolution. This was kind of an interesting one. If I am in a book, this is a good opportunity for me to show you what the ebook view looks like. So I'm now in an ebook. You can see that if I click on this icon here, I can look at the table of contents. I can go right into this particular chapter if I want on leveraging multiple skill sets. I can literally page from section to section and from page to page. And I can also create highlights. So let me just go back to a chapter. Let's say we're reading this chapter on leveraging multiple skill sets. In order to capture something that I'm reading, I can simply take a note, add a highlight. I can add a note and say, return to this later, super relevant. And save my note, and my note is private based on my settings. So later on, I can go into my settings, again, my personal settings, and look at my highlights. And there's that note I just took. So really easy to explore the resource, to save your work for O'Reilly for Higher Education and take a deep dive into these topics. Whether you're at the introductory level, the intermediate level, or the advanced level. I do like to point out, because some of these technical topics are way up here for a lot of people, that there are also ways to build up to that level. So there's beginning Python, there's even Python for dummies. I will show you the dummies series. We have stock investing for dummies, cryptocurrency investing for dummies, technical analysis for dummies. It just goes on and on. So that's a publisher that O'Reilly cooperates with. So we've got a lot of basic information for beginners, as well as information for very fluent technologists within O'Reilly. And with that, I kind of wanted to throw it open to questions, or see if there's anything in particular that the group wanted me to unpack or show in O'Reilly. But I really feel like this is a resource that, given what's going on with people coming out of pandemic, trying to, in some cases, reinvent themselves, pivot their careers, enhance their resumes, compete in a much more dynamic economy, that this resource kind of provides a lot of avenues for that. If I type in CERT, you can see the certification material. There's really great certification training materials and preparation materials from Pearson. We'll take a look at that. So you can see these are deep dives in these topics, again, preparing users for certification to help them differentiate themselves in a very dynamic and more competitive market. We'll take a look at Amazon Web Service certification options. This is, again, a 6-hour and 18-minute video course preparing someone for their Amazon Web Services certification. All right. So with that, I'm going to open it to questions. Avi, I don't know if you want to open the line or if there were questions that came up in the chat.
I didn't see any questions. Ah, maybe there's one here. No,
Okay.
no questions
Okay.
in the chat.
All right. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? You can put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself.
Yes, please. Happy to answer any questions.
Peg, I thought it was a very interesting demo and
Oh,
your,
thank you. Yeah.
yes. And also linking it to Israel and,
Yeah.
you know, the material regarding the startup nation, I thought was great. Thank you for doing that.
I find it fascinating, like that experience I had working for a startup company that was purchased by a larger traditional publisher exposed me to the startup ethos. Like literally this was a Silicon Valley startup, and I find it fascinating. I've heard that Austin, Texas is the Silicon Valley of Texas. And you know, everything is the Silicon Valley of something else. But what we're seeing internationally is whole nations that are startup nations. And I think that's a fascinating development. And the timing is so right for this, given what we're all going through, this global pandemic and needing to work differently and employ technology in new ways and really survive in a different world. So I think it's never going to get old. Every business operates on technology. So this is a database all about business and technology. And I think that's why we're seeing this international interest. And I would ask, is it Marcelo? Or
Marcelo, yes, Marcelo.
Marcelo, if you're willing to jump on screen or open up your mic for a minute, can you help me understand?
There are also others, by the way, there's also others who have Tel Aviv University have a subscription, I believe. And
I'm just really interested in what drew you to O'Reilly and why you knew it was a good resource for your institution.
also Ariel,
Yeah.
we have it.
I can't resist the moment to ask you about your take on this. How did you come to O'Reilly as a resource and a solution for your institution?
Peg, maybe we should stop sharing and then we can
Yeah,
see
let me do that. Okay.
other
We'll
that
stop.
might
That's a good idea.
help a little bit.
That does help.
Yes, now we can
Okay.
see everyone.
That's much better. Marcelo, what was that process like for your organization? If you were involved, maybe you weren't, I don't know. You probably were.
Well, we had in the past the Safari from 50 books, and we stopped the subscription when you change the business model. And now we subscribe again, and it's the hard time to don't have a word.
Say it in Hebrew, we can translate, Marcel.
Yeah, that would be fine. Absolutely.
להכניס אותו לעבודת העלמה.
להכניס אותו לעלמה. Yes. Yes, they need to integrate it with Alma so that the users, yeah.
Integrate it to Alma.
Yeah.
To Alma and to Athens, all together. But now we're beginning in the last month to work with it, and we see.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Any questions for me or any other things I can share? I will say we didn't spend time on it, but the other thing I get asked a lot is what content is unique to O'Reilly. One thing that makes O'Reilly's resource different than anyone that I've ever encountered really is that they are publishers as well as aggregators. So O'Reilly controls all of the material published by O'Reilly, of course. So that's at the core, the beating heart of this resource, and it's under their direct control. So it's stable and it's important to them and it's steady and the best there is in the industry. So the other thing they do that's unique to O'Reilly for Higher Education and O'Reilly for Public Libraries is they put early release titles in there. So you will see, again, in that black left-hand navigation area, a section called early releases, where you're going to find titles that don't publish until November of 2022. So again, giving their users the opportunity to see this leading edge technologies, to be ahead of the curve, to see material before it's distributed to the wide world. So I think that's important too. It's between the case studies and the early releases and all of the material that's proprietary to O'Reilly, that's a very stable core. Yeah. So I think that's an
Meg,
important
I actually have a question for you. I was wondering,
Okay.
how do you have any tips to offer on how libraries can encourage use of O'Reilly? How encourage academics to use it as part of teaching and learning?
Yeah.
Any suggestions for that and tips? Any tips?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say those playlists that I showed you, it would be very easy for a faculty member to create a playlist for supplementary reading for their course. Okay, so it's almost like a mini course reserve section. I can ask my students to go in and take a look at this article, this video, quite easily. And those are links that can be embedded in their learning management system. So very easy for faculty to point their students to the O'Reilly resource. And I guess, again, thinking about retraining, upskilling students right now who are being delivered into a world that is very different than the world graduates 3 years ago were delivered into. So learning how to accentuate their experience, how to beef up their resume, how to get more certification, distinguish themselves from other people competing for the same jobs. I would say those are good ways. Between the faculty, use as a supplementary tool and encouraging students to make themselves stand apart from their competitors as they enter into the work world. And to also, I think, lower the bar a little bit to make sure they understand you can go in there and look at Excel for dummies. You don't have to go in and learn advanced Python. There's something for all levels of learning. At the very beginning, the person who's not a technologist, and then people who are deeply into the technical. So I feel like that's a message I would want to share, is that it is really for everybody because of that. It covers introductory as well as very advanced technology. Yeah, thank you. That's a great question.
And tell me, what are the most popular subjects overall, or videos, whatever, topics?
Right. We do see a lot on artificial intelligence just because of what's going on, and machine learning, Amazon Web Services, Python. People are very interested in data mining, so Python comes into play a lot with that. So those are topics I see roll up a lot. Kubernetes is another one for technologists that comes up. And you know how software language, this is kind of part of the DNA of technologists. My husband is an engineer, so I've seen him carry around O'Reilly books his whole career because engineers always have to learn a new language, right? So that changes over time. But so there's always a new language that they're learning. And I think that's kind of why O'Reilly had such a success story from the beginning. They were always after what's next and on top of that, starting with their founder. Yeah. It's a great founder story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Anything else? Okay.
Also Hebrew University, we're being corrected, yes. Also Hebrew. So yeah, we
Nice.
have several in
There
Israel.
as
who
well there. I think that's
subscribe,
wonderful.
Doesn't mean
I would love to,
Weizmann as well, Nina.
yes. Weizmann as well. Okay,
you know what
great.
I would love to do, as long as we have a couple minutes, I'm going to put in a plug. I would love to work with some of these universities to create a case study to show, how it's useful to your university, because I think that speaks volumes more than what I can tell people is what have other universities done with it? How is it useful? How do you, what innovative ways do you use O'Reilly at your institution? And specifically, what are the applications for you? That means more to potential users than anything in a marketing brochure. So if there are opportunities like that, I would love to work with someone on a case study. That'd be fantastic. I know Roberta would probably love that too, right?
I'm sure.
Case studies are great. They just give people a snapshot of what might make sense for them. Yeah. All right.
I
This
was
was
given 2 minutes break from the compressor. Thank you all
yes.
for participating in this webinar.
Yes, I really appreciate the time.
I'm sorry
and the
that we
invitation.
had some difficulties here, but it's a good start anyhow.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
and
you.
enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peg.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.